Todd Gleason.
When it comes to our members, Chris Magnuson connects rural routes for you. Chris leads Illinois Farm Bureau's efforts to provide valuable information to our members. He has spent 2 decades with IFB. Here's a bit about his rural roots.
I grew up on a farm with corn, soybeans, and Christmas trees. I've been in ag communication for 3 decades now. My greatest satisfaction has always remained the same, to serve our members.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
I used to say I was an Illinois Farm Bureau member because it gives us farmers a voice in Washington. Then there was a bad regulation proposed in my community. That's when I learned what my county Farm Bureau does for me right here in my own backyard. From giving scholarships to local kids to tackling township or zoning concerns, Farm Bureau starts right here. And now, that's why I say I'm a member.
Call your county Farm Bureau and rediscover your grassroots power.
You're listening to RFD Town and Country Partners, connecting you with the food you eat, the Illinois farmers who grow it, and the food-related events, destinations, and lifestyles that make our state great.
Hey, good day to you. Welcome to Town and Country Partners here on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Rita Frazier here in Bloomington. We're joined here in the first segment by Tasha Bunting. Tasha is our Director of Livestock Programs here at the Illinois Farm Bureau. How are you, Tasha?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Hey, we're going to talk about a couple of different things, but one, being a good advocate for Illinois livestock. It sounds like a very, simple thing to do, but there's probably a lot of things to consider.
Absolutely. A lot of people have become engaged in social media and been able to do things where they can highlight what's happening on their farms by simply posting pictures or videos of what's happening on a day-to-day basis. But there's also a lot of opportunity in just having conversations with your neighbors or your kids, friends, parents, and helping them have a better understanding of what exactly it is you do on your farm and why you do things the way that you do them, and maybe how that's changed over the years from, before when our parents and grandparents maybe did things a certain way versus how we do things today.
Mm-hmm. Now, it was just it seems like a lot longer ago, but there was a video that was posted on the Illinois Farm Bureau Facebook page, and it was an educational video involving a dairy. You were a part of that. When you told me how many people watched that thing, I was blown away.
Yeah, it was very successful. I think just, people are intrigued and curious about how we do things on the farm when there's extreme weather. And we, I guess, fortunately, had the good timing this winter when we worked with Mackinson Dairy Farm just outside of Pontiac, Illinois, to do a little discussion and videoing of their farm and how they take care of their cows and their calves during the winter months. And it just so happened to be during the polar vortex that video was released. So we got lucky with timing, and people were curious and wanted to know how we were taking care of things on the farm during those extreme temperatures.
And how many, what was the number?
The final number continues to grow a little bit day by day, but when the heat of it first went off, it was heat maybe is not the right term for that particular session, but when it was first launched, there was nearly 200,000 views and shares and organic viewings of the video. So it was a pretty successful campaign.
It is amazing, and I know that, your family, you lived through the cold, now you're dealing with the mud, and if you're not connected to the farm, whether you're in the deep city or whether you're just that one generation removed, like you said, you forget that livestock producers have to be out in those elements.
Right, in all of those conditions. And definitely we all want to see springtime and warmer weather, although the first couple of weeks, at least on our farm in particular, when it starts warming up and the freeze is coming out of the ground, it gets a little muddy and soggy, and so things don't look the prettiest in the springtime until the mud is kind of gone away and we start getting some of the green grass growing and are able to kind of see some signs of spring definitely on the way. So we certainly like it when we have some weather that is cooperating and that we can get the cows back out on pasture and be able to open up some of the doors and have things just more a springtime feel for sure.
So our topic of being a good advocate for the livestock industry, you and your family, and you've shown livestock for a long time, and your kids then start to be advocates young, don't they?
They do. We have 3 kids. Our oldest is 11, our middle is 9, and our youngest is 6. And all 3 of them definitely help with chores and work around the farm. And they're getting into 4-H and taking their own projects and doing things that gets them active and understanding a little bit more about agriculture. And so we probably have conversations around our dinner table that most families may not have with their youngsters, especially when there's certain seasons going around and we're trying to talk about what kind of decisions we're going to make for selecting the next genetics that we're going to be using on our farm. And so there's some things that our kids probably are a little advanced in because of their background and working on the farm and know a little bit more about biology and how things move through different cycles, but certainly that's things that we need to remind them that sometimes we can't share everything we learn on the farm with our classmates unless the teacher is okay with it. Right.
and as far as the animal care on the show circuit, I don't know if I shared this, I may have last time you were in studio, but Doug Turner, the Illinois Beef Expo past chairman, Champaign County cattleman, he said during an interview with him this winter, he said, if I die and come back, I'd like to come back as a show cow.
Absolutely. I would second that. Our cows, when we are preparing them in the summertime and fall and even spring, we take the winter off and don't do too many winter shows, but a lot of people do. And so when you're getting ready for your shows and trying to get those animals ready, they get a bath every day. They have their hair brushed and worked on so that it lays properly, that when you get ready to groom it, and they lay under fans, and they have all kinds of feed and water that they need to meet their requirements. And so they compared to some other cows, they definitely are pampered, but everyone that has livestock certainly does take care of their cattle or their sheep or whatever it may be in order to provide the best care for them.
I know that recently you, along with Jennifer Tyree, some other ag representatives, were at the campus of Illinois State, and you talked about, how to handle, I don't know what the word actually proper verbiage is, but activists, we'll call them, and how to handle them. And, there might be people listening today that are on social media, they're on Facebook, and they are an advocate. They're a supporter of livestock, and they may see comments that are wackadoodle to them, and they may engage. I mean, what do you advise us to do when it comes to that sort of thing?
Well, I would definitely suggest any time you see something that looks out of what you perceive to be the norm, find somebody that you trust and that you value what kind of information they would be able to share with you, and ask those questions. I would much rather have one of my friends that sees something that they question on another platform, whether that's on social media or otherwise, reach out to me and say, hey, I just saw this, and is that really how things are done? And maybe that'll open up a whole conversation about,
Oh, looks like we dropped a call here. Oh, there you are. You must have had a call coming in. So you were just giving us advice there on, seeking a trusted friend in the ag industry for a resource.
And we can have that conversation as well.
The watchusgrow.org, wonderful site, isn't it?
It is a very good site. I would encourage anybody to go there and watch the videos and learn a little bit more about how things are done on those individual farms, and then reach out to those individuals if they have questions on what they saw and would like to learn more.
we always talk about your calendar because you've got a busy one. As we said, you're a farmer and you manage your family's farm and family. Then you're going to probably be on the road. There's probably some things coming up. I know that you're always on the road with meetings. Oh, I think we lost you again, Tasha. There you're back. I think we lost you for just a minute. So you have what's coming up for you and your schedule? Oh, just about a minute left in this segment. Hopefully she'll pop back on with us. But we do have, I know for sure, as she gets ready for that show season that we talked about, they'll be on the road for sure. One will be coming up at their county fair, of course, and then we go on to the Illinois State Fair. This year, the Illinois State Fair, we are really looking forward to it because not only the construction of the Coliseum, some other buildings, upgrades there, but lots of exciting thing on that Illinois State Fair grounds as we look for a state fair that will be governed by a new state fair manager yet to be named, and of course our new director of agriculture in John Sullivan. Looking forward to that. Speaking of the state fairgrounds, coming up on Earth Day, a special program there for the monarch butterfly. They're going to be talking there at the Department of Agriculture. We'll have more details as we get further down the road here. But April 22nd, that's the Monday after Easter, we'll have a special broadcast from the Illinois State Fair. Well, that's going to do it for this segment. Our thanks to Tasha Bunting. She is the Director of Livestock Programs at the Illinois Farm Bureau. Stay tuned. More Town and Country Partners to come.
Clean water matters to all of us. For years, farmers have been calling for clean water and clear rules because we know it's possible to have both. Now is the time to make your voice heard. The proposed clean water rule announced by the Environmental Protection Agency and the Army Corps would end years of uncertainty over where federal jurisdiction begins and ends. Support the new rule. Text WATERS to 52886. That's WATERS to 52886. And contact your local county farm bureau for more information.
Farm Week and FarmWeekNow.com journalist Dina Stroish connects rural routes for you. From the Farm Bill to crop insurance to GMO labeling, her expertise is apparent in the stories she reports. Here's a bit about her rural roots.
I get to meet interesting people and share their stories, and I get paid to do it. I cover ag policy and really enjoy keeping the farming community updated on these important issues.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
Welcome to Jim Crowley Outdoors here on the RFD Radio Network, hooking you up with the information you won't have to hunt for. As usual this year, there's going to be a lot more new lures on the market. And I got asked a question the other day, hey, Jim, how do I get better with a new lure? Maybe it's a chatterbait, maybe it's a spinnerbait, maybe it's a crankbait, whatever. How do I get better with it? And, how do I know what that lure is doing? Well, I've always said that lures are tools to get a job done. You will hear me say that for as long as we're talking about lures on this show. And that's simply what they are. They are just tools, and they help you to complete a task. Obviously, they help you to catch fish. So how do you get better with them? Well, here's what I've always done. I remember when I first learned to fish a plastic worm, and back then we didn't have a bunch of videos and stuff like that. So you thumb through the magazines and you read everything. But to me, there was never anything better than practical application. And so what I would do is I would take the lures out to a farm pond where I could see the lures in the water. The water was relatively clear, and I could see them up close. So the plastic worm, what I would do is I would cast it out where I can see it sitting on the bottom there and see if I could see a rock or a branch or something. And if I saw the branch, I would pull it up to the branch and close my eyes and see what that lure felt like coming over that branch. And with my eyes closed, I'd see what it felt like when it hit the bottom. Well, I did the same thing with the rock. And then I would throw it in grass, and I would see what it would feel like coming through the grass. I got to learn what to expect. And as you've know by now listening to the show, I'm a geek when it comes to equipment. I know everything that all my equipment does. And that's not egotistical. That's just what I've made myself do. I figure I'm just going to become better at whatever fish I'm fishing for if I know exactly what my lures do. I want to know. The more I learned about my lures and what they did, I knew what to expect from them. And I know when I made a cast out 50 feet away and that plastic worm was 10 feet down and I couldn't see it, I could feel the bottom. You know, I could feel, and that's why a lot of times in deeper water I went with a heavier sinker. I could feel the bottom better. So I would feel those rocks down there, or I would feel that grass, or I would feel that weight coming up to a branch as it was coming up, and then I'd feel a drop to the bottom. And I remember one of the first times that I actually reeled down and actually saw my line moving. I reared back and set the hook and caught the bass, and I remember as years went by and the better I got at it that I don't even remember feeling the bite. I just instinctively set the hook. And that will happen to you. And it will happen because things become a second nature to you. So whether you're throwing a crankbait or you're throwing a chatterbait or whatever, learn what your lures do. You want muscle memory to become second nature to you, where something in your psyche tells you, set the hook. And that's what you want. And then you know exactly how they don't feel when a fish picks them up. That is how you get better with a new lure.
RFD Radio Network's Rita Frazier connects rural routes for you. Rita delivers passion and reliable information to listeners on the RFD Radio Network. Her radio career spans close to 3 decades. Here's a bit about her rural roots.
I grew up on a small farm. My job today allows me to connect with people from all walks of life and experience opportunity every day. I get to talk about what I love, farming.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
Yes, I listen to a lot of talk radio, but I wouldn't call myself a political junkie. I guess that's why I like being a member of the Illinois Farm Bureau. No matter what my comfort level is, Farm Bureau has something for me and my farm. As an Illinois Farm Bureau member, I can pick and choose what's best for me, from reading election news and Farm Week to actually going to Washington. That's enough to make me a policy nut after all.
Call your county farm bureau and customize your membership today.
Welcome back. Let's go down to Springfield, visit with the advisor and ag teacher at Lincoln Land Community College, Bill Harmon. Recently had a successful run with his PAS club. Bill, how are you?
I'm fine, DeLon.
Well, thank you for doing this. You guys recently had their national competitions, and sounds like Lincoln Land did pretty well.
Yeah, we took 10 students to the National Professional Ag Student Conference just outside of Denver. Luckily, it was over our spring break. One of our teams, the soil specialist team, won first place overall. One of our students was the high individual, Nathan Goebel, and then we had other students who played, a bunch of individual awards. Seconds and thirds and fourths. So we had a good week.
That's fantastic. I should back up here just for folks who aren't familiar. What is PAS?
PAS was created in 1980 in Kansas City, Missouri. It was originally started as a group for community colleges across the country with ag programs. It followed the model of FFA to give those students a chance at leadership development, competition when they leave high school and move on to the community college level. Since that time, it's added universities across the country. It's primarily in the Midwest and northern states. We do have schools out in Washington State, and then as far east as New York. Right now, we've got about 20 states have active chapters in it. Illinois has a number, schools like ICC and Blackhawk, Kaskaskia, Parkland, John Wood, et cetera. So that's where we are.
So some organizations are social. This one is certainly a professional organization.
Right. It's to help get students ready at this stage. Their education. We're supposed to be getting them ready for a career. So our events are all designed for the soil specialist event. For example, they had to do a written exam to test their knowledge of the soils industry in the field. They also had to evaluate soil cores, monoliths. We were lucky that we were able to get some soil cores from Colorado. And as you can imagine, for students from here in Illinois, they were able to see some really different soil there. And then working with teammates, they have to do some problem solving, some real life case studies, things they would run into on the job. And that's the same format we use for livestock specialists, crops, horticulture. It's all about, are we helping get these young people ready for a career in agriculture?
So you had several things there. You had soils and crops. You also had some livestock participation, too.
Right. We had a team that finished in Illinois in beef specialist out there at the Nationals. They were in 5th place. Same kind of deal. They had to do a presentation as a team on how to solve an industry problem, took an exam, and then also did a case study. They were given a scenario and said, how would you solve this? And put it in writing. So that way they're testing their communication skills. We also had a College Bowl team. And College Bowl is kind of like Scholastic Bowl or Academic Bowl that somebody might remember from high school, but the questions are all ag related. So our team won the Illinois contest the last 3 years, and so they earned the right to go out there. They got beat in the quarterfinals by the eventual national champs. So after they got over their disappointment, they said, oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah, that's right. You rooted for the winner at that point. So
exactly.
Pretty, even interview contest. So that's ag education interview contest. So, that's you've got a wide variety of skills and opportunities here amongst these students.
Right. In the interview contest, the students get to pick a career area. There's 13 different areas, and they say, okay, I'm interested in pick one. They create a resume and a cover letter for a job that they're interested in. It could be a made-up job or it could be a real one. And then at the contest, we bring in industry professionals from that field, and so they're getting interviewed, for example, in ag education. They're getting interviewed by somebody who's worked in the school system in the administration and done hiring of teachers. And so it gives them, a real-world scenario in a mock environment. And so hopefully down the road when they do that real interview that's going to count, they'll be ready for it. One of our students, Lori Jackson from Jacksonville, Illinois, she got second in ag education. She's interested in a career in extension someday, and she was able to get some practice in this, and she was lucked out. She met somebody who worked in extension and got some more input on that as a career field.
Wow, very good. I'm looking at some of these things. Illiopolis that's Sangamon County. See a couple in Logan County, for example, but you mentioned Jacksonville and even some from out of state. You bring in students from, it's a pretty wide territory.
Right. Lincoln Land, we recruit, especially for our livestock team, is where we're bringing in most of the students from out of state. They want to come and judge for Craig Beckmeyer, our coach. We have students on campus right now from Missouri, like you mentioned, but also from Ohio and Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee, as well as students from here in Illinois. But he's got a really strong national recognition and brings in students who want to compete for him. Here in Illinois, we cover the Lincoln Land district, here around Springfield area, but also Lewis and Clark's district down at Godfrey. They haven't had an ag program down there since the early 2000s, and so we've got an agreement, and we get a lot of students from the Jerseyville, Carlinville, South Pike, Macoupin County, and down in that area who want to come up here and get a head start on their ag education.
That's tremendous. So spring break has come and gone. Surely you're doing some recruiting for the next round of students to come your way.
Right. Registration opens in a couple weeks here on campus, and so we can sign them up. But we've got a full-time recruiter now in our ag program, Holly Bauman, and Holly's been out visiting, trying to get to every school in our district and a number in our associated districts that we work with. But yeah, we've got students coming in. We're looking forward to an increase this fall. We've seen growth both semesters this year, and we'll hope that continues.
Bill Harmon, professor and ag advisor at Lincoln Land Community College down in Springfield. I'm DeLawrence Yonke, RFD Town and Country Partners.
Thank you for joining us for RFD Town and Country Partners. Get out and enjoy Illinois.